for each creature. They manifest a core Aristotelian principle that nature always, or for the most part, reaches for the better, invokes the principle specifically in consideration of lowly creatures, but perhaps even in inferior creatures there is some natural good stronger than themselves which aims at their proper good. The lucky and those who get warnings in their dreams are operating according to these impulses, and achieve their good outcomes via this lowly information processing center. Just as it steers even rudimentary forms of life towards what is good for them, so it is humming away inside humans as well. The empty-headed are especially attuned to it, because their internal dialogue, which in intellectually sound people is busy working towards more complex good things, is so faint. While they cannot achieve the magnificent insights of which fully realized humans are uniquely capable, they can achieve uncanny good results via their attunement to the incremental benefits achieved by the rudimentary systems. Aristotle thereby aligns divinatory insight with animal instinct. For both Plato and Aristotle, divination is a fringe phenomenon, and is explicable as an alternative form of cognition, which shows affiliations with how animals think. In the case of the Stoics, the basic premises are quite different. Divination is a core piece of their basic theological positions, is embedded in their principles of physics and cosmology, and is affiliated not with a lower form of cognition, but is an expression of what they understood to be the one, single form of it. Their distinctive views on theology, cosmology, and physics, and their monistic psychology, yield a cosmos with quite a different shape from that of either Plato or Aristotle. Given the degree of this difference, it is all the more noteworthy that the category of the animal again emerges as a central one. They straightforwardly claim that the signs percolating through the cosmos, including those that emerge in dreams or oracles, operate based on the physiological structures of a living organism. In their case, the relevant animal is the cosmos itself. The Platonic idea that the cosmos is a single creature takes on an entirely new pertinence for the Stoics. For them it is not a metaphor, but a statement of fact, and their larger philosophical system has unique resources for thinking it through. Stoic understanding, all things that exist in the universe are material. They are a composite of two kinds of matter, the inert kind, or hull, and an active divine vapor, evanescent but still material, called pneuma. This is the case for every discrete entity in the cosmos, from planets, to people, to grains of sand. The hull gives a thing bulk and the rarefied fiery internal pneuma provides it with its qualities, characteristics, and energy. Different degrees of pneuma result in different orders of these characteristics. Inanimate things are held together by a degree of pneuma called hexis, tension. Plants and non-mobile living things like a fetus are held together by physis. Animals are held together by soul, which they understand to be the particular form of pneuma that provides for perception and self-propulsion, and rational self-propelled living things, that is humans, have a logic psych. Further, the pneuma that permeates each individual thing is entirely contiguous with the pneuma in each adjacent thing, including the pneuma that courses through the atmosphere around us and beyond into the fiery regions of the heavens. So, the pneuma as a whole is a synthesizing breath that suffuses every nook and cranny of the cosmos and links each part of it to every other part in a non-mysterious, entirely materialist mode. They claim the pneuma as a whole is coextensive with the divine, and finally that it is the soul of the cosmos, which they understand to be a single animal. The flow of energy that vivifies the cosmic creature, via the pneuma, they label with the technical name sympathia. Sympathy, literally co-feeling in Greek, is a centerpiece of their explanations for divinatory signs. It is anchored in a notion of the cosmos as an organism. The term pre-exists in the Hippocratic medical tradition and in physiology. It articulates the interconnection of body parts that, while distant from each other, may well be interconnected. A flush in the face might be linked with a fever produced by an infection in the toe. The concept sets the operation of divinatory signs within a powerfully physiological context. That unseen conditions in the cosmos will be made manifest by visible parts of it is for them as sure as the idea that organisms manifest signs of their conditions in visible symptoms. Such divine signs are an integral part of their physics and theology. The Stoics tie the very existence of the divine to the existence of divine signs, an argument all the more powerful since atheism is a near absurdity in antiquity. Significance of categories related to animals, even in this abstract arena, further underscores the broad relevance of such themes to divination in general. Each of these thinkers, in their different ways, configures the study of divination as an investigation into a more or less distinctive way of knowing. They attempt to discern how certain people are able to know things in ways that stretch our customary cognitive abilities. To do this, they begin with an understanding of divination as an emergent insight, which bubbles up from knowledge directly embedded in organisms. The salience of animal themes suggests a larger habit of thought around animal nature, beyond merely the kinds of signs observers look to, whether birds, beasts, or entrails. More than placing humans in conversation with their gods, the practices of divination place humans in conversation, the creaturely dimensions of their experience. Within the classical context, human intellects and corporeal bodies, animals and humans alike, sit in sometimes strident opposition. Via divination, they find a medium in which they can collaborate. The best source for ancient ideas and practices of divination is to be found in Cicero's De Divination, which passes on important Stoic and peripatetic ideas, and aims to aggregate many earlier schools of thought. Animals figure commonly in his considerations. Multiple commentaries illuminate the text. In English, those of Arthur Stanley Peace, 1969, and David Wardle, 2006, are the best guides. Auguste Bouchet-Leclerc's, 1879-82, four-volume overview of the history de la divination dans l'Antiquité has not been surpassed for its thorough documentary coverage of the topic. Populations, we used binomial logistic regression. As with CP analysis, we selected a balanced number of choices for each stimulus condition, Z-scored the spike counts for each stimulus orientation separately, and then fit the data together. We fit the model using CVGLMet, provided by the GUMNet package, split our dataset into training and test datasets, and assessed performance on a pair of left-out trials, consisting of one of each choice from the same orientation. Each trial was used at most once for assessing performance. To reduce overfitting, we used lasso regularization, choosing the strength of the penalty term using 10-fold cross-validation on the training set. Specifically, the weight of the penalty term was set to minimize model deviance. Even with regularization, we found that the model frequently overfit when we used the full measured population. We therefore applied an alternative strategy. We rank-ordered the neurons based on their predict-type performance, measured using binomial logistic regression models and the same leave-one pair-out cross-validation procedure described above. We then fit a regularized binomial logistic regression model using the neuron with best predictive performance, and then fit a new model to the two best neurons, and so on. When prediction accuracy did not increase for two consecutive increments of population size, we defined the relevant population for that session as that which had provided the maximal prediction accuracy. Performance was again measured by leave-one pair-out cross-validation. We used the same cross-validation folds for all increments. We assessed the statistical significance of model performance by first randomly permuting the choices across trials, within each stimulus condition of each session. We then calculated the prediction accuracy for each neuron, and fit the population model as described above. Cross-validation folds were not shared between the ranking procedure and fitting the population responses, because these were also not shared in the original data. Note that because performance was defined as the maximum observed for populations of increasing size, chance performance for the randomly permuted data was 50%. We repeated this procedure 1,000 times for each session, and defined performance of a model based on the measured responses to be significant if its performance exceeded the 950th best model applied to permuted data. To be sure our results did not depend strictly on the use of logistic regression, we also predicted behavioral choices from neuronal popular tie-on responses using a support vector machine with a linear kernel, using libsvm, and found similar results. Choice history analysis. We estimated the influence of choice history on behavior using a probabilistic choice model. The model contained a matrix of 10 independent variables for each trial, and a constant, bias term. There were 8 sensory parameters, one for each stimulus orientation, excluding the 45 degrees orientation. On each trial, the relevant stimulus variable was either set to 1 for stimuli 45 degrees, or 1 for stimuli 45 degrees, or to 0 if that stimulus was not presented on that trial. There were 2 choice history variables, capturing the choice on the previous trial. The first choice history variable was set to 1 if the animal received a reward and made a vertical choice in the previous trial, 1 if the animal received a reward and made a horizontal choice in the previous trial, and 0 if the animal was not rewarded in the previous trial. The second choice history variable was set to 1 if the animal was not rewarded and made a vertical choice in the previous trial, 1 if the animal was not rewarded and made a horizontal choice in the previous trial, and 0 if the animal was rewarded in the previous trial. We used a binomial logistic regression model with lasso regularizer Tion to relate these variables to the animal's choices. We fit the model, for training dataset, 80% of trials, to estimate the weights and the regularization parameter, chosen through 10-fold cross-validation on the training set. We used the remaining 20% of trials to estimate performance. This procedure was repeated 100 times, creating 100 folds per session. The reported values are the average of these 100 folds. To test whether the choice history model performed better than a model that does not have the 2 choice history variables, we also computed the likelihood for a no history model. For each fold we computed twice the log likelihood ratio of the 2 models and compared the value to a 2 statistic with 2 degrees of freedom, chosen level of 0.05 to reject the null hypothesis that the choice history model is no better than the no history model. To predict choices using a model with both choice history and neuronal responses, we used the same ranking of neurons as in the population analysis described above. However, this time we fit the regression model to the most informative neuron, including the 2 choice history variables. We then added the next most informative neuron and fit a new model to these 2 neurons and the 2 choice history variables, and so on. We stopped when prediction accuracy did not increase for the 2 consecutive increments of population size. Performance was measured using a leave one pair out cross-validation procedure. We used the same cross-validation folds for each population size considered. We tested whether choice signals in neuronal responses were because of choice history effects by repeating our choice analyses, but consider separately trials in which the animal had previously made a vertical or horizontal choice. For these analyses, we required at least 10 trials of each choice for each stimulus, 45 degrees stimulus and 1 or 2 adjacent orientations, and at least 40 trials in total. We could not perform this analysis conditioning on reward outcome, the second aspect of choice history used in our choice model, because the animal's success rate, 80%, produced too few error trials.